Hi again, people. Back to melody writing, and this is chapter 2 on how to use triads or broken chords or arpeggios, however you choose to think about it. Now, we ended up with a melody that sounds like this. It's okay. Now, everything in that is okay because we have a melody that is hitting the come on word, where are you? Oh, it's down here. One moment please. Right, we have a melody that's hitting the notes in the triad. You might hear other people on YouTube describing this as chord tones. It's note tones in the chord. It really is that simple. So I know a lot of guitarists, where if you're watching a guitarist or bass player on YouTube talking about how to write licks and riffs and that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing that's the words they might use, chord tones. And going back to my first video on having a good rhythm, we've got a question and answer rhythm. So we've got rhythm A, rhythm B, rhythm A again, and then rhythms B. So it's question and answer, got these underlying structures. It makes it interesting. Right, let's make this a bit better, and I need to go across to Logic. There we go. Right, I'm going to modify this. I'm going to cut and paste down. I'm going to mute that one so you can't hear it at the moment, and I've labelled this melody chord tone fragments. This is where I feel this is trying too hard. I think having to use all three notes from the triad just makes it sound like a little bit laboured. So I'm just going to simplify it by only using two notes from the chord. And I'm going to use lots of E's over that chord 6. And then this is chord 4. So I'm going to use that note there. I'm not trying to use all three notes in the chord. I don't like the fact this goes to a different shape here. I'm actually going to repeat the same. I'm going to repeat the same shape there again, because listeners like a bit of a continuity. A bit of repetition means you've not just got random stuff springing about all over the place that's not cohesive. Too much repetition is an issue. And then I've got this little C phrase here, and I wasn't really happy about how this sounded either, so I am going to just use one note from the chord. So under this little section here, it's chord 5. That's a G chord in C major, so I've got the chord tones G, B and D. They're all D's there. It will be absolutely fine. Right, so what's that sound like? I haven't practiced this. Right, now that sounds much better to my ears because it's not trying too hard. We got that A phrase there being repeated. It just sounds a little bit more cohesive, and it's not using every note in the chord. One little thing that springs to mind actually, and I haven't thought of doing this, one thing that you'd be expected to do for sort of slightly higher level, let's repeat the chord change. That's what I've just done there, so I've looped it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and paste this here. So it's going to happen exactly the same, but in the let's make it the last 2 bars. Let's modify that so our rhythm, we can use chord fragments to make it more interesting. And it seems like we've done a lot of writing, and we really haven't. Okay, so I'm going to use, this is should be over a chord 6, which is A, C and E. I've got E's there. I'm just going to move those, so a batch of A's. This note here won't work because it's an F. It needs to be a chord tone. A, C and E are our chord tones over this particular bar. And now I'm going to move this and that note. So here is a chord 5, and there are a set of G's. Chord 5 is G major and C major, so you've got G, B and D. And then we go to chord 1 here, and that note there is a G. G is acceptable because it's the 5th of chord 1, C, E and G. Right, so no idea what this sounds like, but let's just see if we can use these chord fragments and then develop the phrase as we go through. I'll show you what I mean. Get a drum fill as well, bonus. Right, so that is just a simple formula there to start creating an interesting melody. We didn't do anything complicated. We just hit, instead of trying to use all 3 notes in the chord, we've lowered it right down. Okay, so we're just using 1 note sometimes. In this instance here, in that last bar, that is absolutely fine. Okay, have we covered everything we need to about our triadic or arpeggiatic or chord tone melodies? Let me see. Yep, I think we're okay. Now, if you're aiming for a higher level, if you're thinking about 5, 6 and 7s, 8s, 9s, then you need to think about how you develop your melody when it repeats. And that worked absolutely fine because I'm hitting the chord tones underneath, over the top of my chord change. The chord change so far hasn't changed, it's just the melody which is developed. Right, that'll do for the time being. Remember, practice your craft and your art will come, and I'll see you again soon.